Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, thank you for your support to our nation in so many varying ways. I think the discussion today has been very beneficial, I think, for all of us and our constituencies. General Alexander, I'd like to start with you, sir. We've spent a lot of time talking about the cyber threats that exist out there and the devastating effects to our networks should they be attacked or when they are attacked, and really the ability to recruit and retain some talent to deal with the cutting-edge threats that exist out there. What I'd like to know is a little bit more, how can we utilize our reserve and our National Guard forces to bring in some of the best and the brightest? We have a lot of folks that certainly serve in very similar capacities in their civilian employment. Is there a way that we can use them to leverage our forces?
Actually, Senator, that's a great question. We were doing that when I was on. I know that continues. So each of the National Guard units are setting up cyber teams that would also help. And as you note, some of these have some of the best technical experts in civilian industry that partner with us. So you go out to Washington, the state of Washington, with Microsoft employees, or all around the world, so all around the U.S. I think there's some great partnerships there, and it also gives you an opportunity to bring those on to active duty when you need them and then take them off. Finally, if we work it right, it also helps provide security for the state and local governments.
No, I think that's wonderful. I know that in my transportation company, we had some computer whizzes working in the civilian industry. They were truck drivers when we were mobilized. So, but a lot of talent that exists out there. And Mr. Chair, Paul, I know that we have spent some time talking about future personnel generations in our Department of Defense. And I would like to visit a little bit with you about, again, the National Guard and the reserves and where you see their role in the future, whether it's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and how they can support future conflicts.
Thanks, Senator. I think this issue of civilian expertise is a unique capability that the National Guard and Reserve brings to the table. And this example of computer experts driving trucks, right? And I saw activated reservists many similar things in Iraq where even doing civil affairs functions, we still had people misaligned or not as aligned as well as maybe they could be with some of these skills that actually are resident in our Guard and Reserve force. And so a process inside the department to actually have service members self-identify those skills and allow them to be tracked inside the department so that if the nation needs to be able to draw upon that, we could know who are these experts would be extremely valuable, and I think a way to really increase even further the skills and capabilities that the National Guard and Reserve bring to the table.
I think that's a great idea. I know that we do identify many of our civilian skill sets through the Guard and the Reserves, but I don't know that the DoD truly pays attention to that. And I think we have a lot of, as I said, talent and abilities that could be better utilized on or with an active duty force. Do you think that the DoD will continue to rely heavily upon our Guard and Reserves as we move into future conflicts in outlying years, as heavily as they have maybe in the past 14 years?
I think there's no question they'll continue to play a valuable role. Certainly, we have asked a lot of Guard and Reserve members, and they have given a lot in the last 14 years. And so I think they'll continue to be a valuable contributor in the future.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on to a different topic, and Mr. Clark, maybe you can assist with this. Today, I did lead a number of my colleagues in a letter regarding our concern for Russia's activities near some of our underwater cables. And it is very concerning because these are fiber optic cables and they carry everything from sensitive information, communications, many of these things that are vital to our economic stability. And I know that it is a very sensitive topic, but I think it's pretty vital that we start talking about our interests in underwater fiber optic cables. So are you concerned at all about the security that we have that either exists or does not exist out there? And if you could expound on that, please.
I'm very concerned about it. Those cables carry trillions of dollars in financial transactions every year. About 90% of the world's economy runs on undersea cables as a result of that. And the Russians, for a long time, have had an undersea reconnaissance program where they go and look at things under the water, and they've taken an interest recently in undersea cables. We can tell by the areas where they're operating that they are looking for something down there in the vicinity of undersea cables. Out in the open ocean, these undersea cables are fairly hard to find because you kind of have to search a large area. But in the areas where they have their landings on the shore, either of the United States or over in Europe or in the Middle East, they're relatively easy to locate and then trace back into the water. I think one concern we would have is in conflict, those cables could be easily broken. They're broken fairly regularly today as a result of trawlers or anchors that take them up. And today, the responsibility for responding or replacing or repairing those cables lies with industry. And so they have on-call cable laying ships that go out and fix them. But you're talking about timeframes of weeks to months to go to repair a cable that's been damaged as a result of either hostile or accidental action. So that one concern I would have is we need to improve the ability to rapidly respond to these kinds of attacks to be able to restore the activity on those cables. And then two, we need to have better monitoring capabilities in the vicinity of these landings where it's a target-rich environment for an undersea vehicle or a ship that's going to deploy a remotely operated vehicle to go attack them. But there are technologies out there that could provide the ability to monitor these areas pretty well, but counter UV technology will be a key part of it, and being able to find something small, like Dr. Singer and Mr. Sheriff talked about, is going to be really hard. So we need to come up with better capabilities to detect these very small underwater vehicles that could be used against undersea cables. But it's a huge potential vulnerability that could be exploited both in peacetime or in war.
Yes, I agree. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think that is something that we need to turn our direction to also. So thank you, Mr. Chair.